that includes hazing and bullying. Sometimes that affects players long after their playing careers. So for more on this, we're joined now by Justin Davis. He's the author of Conflicted Scars, An Average Player's Journey to the NHL, and he's a former OHL and university athlete. He joins us today from Orangeville, Ontario. Justin, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So now you've been at the heart of hockey culture for most of your life. When did you realize that hockey culture either condoned or encouraged, supported hazing and other abusive behaviors?
I think a lot of the time when you're within the culture, you really don't know what's going on. Starting at 5-6 years old, you're kind of preconditioned to the way you act, the way you dress, and the way you talk. And it's not until you become what we refer to the hockey world sometimes as a civilian, someone outside the game. And I'm a high school teacher. So once I kind of joined the real world, I realized some of the stories that I was telling in public and some of the ways that I viewed things weren't how everybody else was viewing it. So with hockey culture, sometimes it takes just stepping out from the world to realize what the culture actually is.
And as you described there, you've had a chance to do a lot of reflection of your time within the hockey world. You've written about it too. Can you share with us some of your experiences that you had when you were in that world?
Well, I think the process started for me just writing this book was supposed to be a memoir just to my kids. I've been dealing with post-concussion syndrome from some hospital stays when I was playing in the OHL, and I wanted my kids to kind of know who I was years down the road in case the memory loss continued. With that, with putting things on paper, it somehow ended up with a literary agent, and here I am talking to you. And I think through the writing process, I realized that the hazing incidents that happened to me from junior C, junior B, and in the OHL were right. And it took a long time. And when you start writing and talking about things more and more, things that you'd buried in the past and you'd buried deep down come to the surface. And obviously with the Hockey Canada stuff coming out and hockey culture, I'm here talking about it, and it's real.
You know, when we read a little bit about some of your past experiences surrounding bullying, hazing, etc., how were these handled by the organization at the time? Did you even have a chance and an opportunity to discuss them or come forward with what you were experiencing then?
I think two parts to that. Number one, it's cyclical. So what I talk about in the book is the hot box initiation, where everyone's kind of stuffed into the bathroom in your rookie year, and it's a sense of pride when you're in the game that you got to do that, and generations have done that before. And it's not till you step away that you think maybe that's wrong. But at the same time, when I was writing my book, I realized, hold on, there's 3 coaches sitting at the front of the bus, and I talk about in the book that I don't blame them because they were a part of the same process 20 years before, 25 years before. All of them have been in the same situation. So when we look at hockey culture and we look at these incidents of hazing, it's happened for years. So how do we rehabilitate the system? We need to have change now, and we need to have that change go forward. This isn't something that's going to be fixed in 2 months, 3 months, a year, 3 years. This is something that's going to take time, but it needs to start now.
And to that very point, of course, we're seeing a lot of these questions and a lot of these calls to action for Hockey Canada from not only politicians, from parents, from provincial organizations. We're seeing all of these sponsors pull out their support also from Hockey Canada in order to try to promote that change that you're discussing, that because it is so difficult to change an organization when it has just kind of continued on and everyone grows up through that and continues to climb the ladder through that. So what do you believe needs to happen? Do you believe that the CEO stepping down from Hockey Canada would be enough? Do you believe there needs to be a complete replacement of top to bottom with the organization?
Well, I think if you watch the proceedings yesterday, and the prevalent problem in hockey is power. And when you listen to people say that they'd give themselves an A in their handling of the situation, and that the lights might not come on in a minor hockey rink. I live in Guelph, and we run a tournament every year. We have 100 to 150 volunteers that come out. So the lights will stay on. It's just this power position where people feel, whether it's coaches and general managers or Hockey Canada, that they have this ultimate power. And until they realize that the game will go on without them, and we're willing to change, then it won't change. And there are some teams doing the right thing. I volunteer as a chapel leader and as a player mentor with the team in the CHL, and they have a player liaison who's a police officer in town. They involve me, and if things and incidents happen, then I am independent of the coach and general manager, and things are reported to me. So some teams are doing the right thing. It's just everyone needs to do the right thing. We need to eliminate that sense of power and individual power where people don't report to anyone.
You know, you suffered an injury. You talk about the negative impacts and effects of the hazing and bullying that you experienced. And so I'm wondering now, you've got a son and he's playing hockey. How difficult or complicated was that decision for you, given your experience?
Well, I think that's where all this came about. You think what happened to you is normal, but hockey is one of the only sports where when you're good and you're 14, 15, 16, you move away from home. You live with billets that you don't know. And other sports, you stay home to your 17 or 18. So when I looked at him and I saw the innocence that he had in 14, 15, and I thought of the hazing incidents and the things that were going on, I never realized I was that young. I just thought it was normal. So it's tough, but I think we're trying to make the right changes. And I've had the opportunity to coach him and try and implement some things that I see can be done better. And that's why I'm here. I don't want to be involved in a civil lawsuit. I don't want to make money out of this. I'm here to help facilitate change. I'm kind of a reluctant participant because this was never meant to get to this point, but that's what I'm here, and I'm hoping for change.
When you mentioned that you were watching those proceedings that took place with the Commons Committee, asking questions of Hockey Canada executives, and part of what came out too wasn't just the way that the organization handled allegations of sexual assault, but also the funding that it's getting and how those funds were spent. Funding that was coming from parents who, as we know, I think it's well known that most people are aware, hockey is a very expensive sport to play. Not everyone can afford to put their kids into hockey. So in terms of the conversations you also have with fellow parents whose kids are in hockey, how are they all feeling and reacting to the handling of these situations and the fact that they're putting money towards something that they, in all likelihood, don't support?
Well, I think numerous hockey parents in Ontario and Canada have paid my Hockey Canada fees every year. Every time we log in, we pay those fees. And one of the parents asked me the other night, like, what are you willing to do? You being involved in this, what do you want to come out of this? And to your question, we got to remember it's a game. We got to remember it's fun. I think there's been such a focus on making major junior hockey and being in the NHL that we don't realize it's a game. These fees we're supposed to install adversity and integrity in kids and just being part of a team. And this should be fun. And we've got so many people pressing to make this a professional sport at the age of 6 or 7. I always say, if I asked my son to go for a car ride for 2 hours to talk to me, he wouldn't get in the car. But hockey and sports allow us to have that opportunity to get to know each other and have conversations we otherwise wouldn't have had. So we need to get back to making this fun. And Hockey Canada needs to remember it's a game.
Well, Justin, thank you for your time today. We appreciate your thoughts on this.
Thanks a lot.
Justin Davis is an author and a former OHL and university sports athlete. He joined us today from Orangeville, Ontario.